This is Unit 8 of my Entrepreneurship full semester course, and in this unit we are communicating a business idea. This is all built around business pitch decks. The objective here is that students will learn how entrepreneurs communicate a business idea using a clear pitch deck and strong presentation skills. By the end of this unit, my hope is that my students can answer this question. How do entrepreneurs explain their business idea in a way that others understand and believe in? In all of my units that I sell, as well as accessible to my students, there's a teacher guide here on the second slide, and this gives you the pacing guide as well as expectations. Although I have this listed as approximately 6 full days, realistically, this could stretch even 7, 8, maybe even 9, depending on how much preparation time you give your students and work time within class if you don't have them take it home as homework. We open by asking students, why do great ideas fail? Well, because many business ideas, they aren't necessarily bad, but the entrepreneur can't explain the idea clearly. So I have my students start to think, well, what makes presentations confusing? I personally use Pear Deck, where my students can type in their results. This gives a voice to the introverted or shy student, or the student that just doesn't want to raise their hand. But you could also popcorn this out and just take the volunteers. What have you seen students do that hurt their presentations? I'll take whatever these results are. Again, I use Pear Deck, so it's accessible on my screen. But if I wasn't, I would probably write it up on the whiteboard, exactly what the students say. So they're probably going to say something like, they mumble, people weren't talking loud enough, their slides were confusing, or the person was nervous, or whatever else the situation might be. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're going to come back to that later. I then get my students thinking about, well, what should a quality presentation that's well prepared and rehearsed actually sound like? And I ask them, what could they talk about for 5 minutes with zero preparation? For example, maybe it's physical fitness or athletics, or maybe it's video games. You fill in the blank. Whatever the thing is, can you get up and talk for 5 minutes unprepared without rehearsing and just get up and go? Every single student in your class has a thing. Maybe they're too shy to actually raise their hand and say what it is, but we all have that thing. Nobody's just a couch potato. And even if you are, then you could probably talk about social media for 5 minutes or whatever the thing is that you sit there on the couch doing. An entrepreneur should be able to speak with equal ease about their business as they can about one of their passions or hobbies. So entrepreneurs are pitching all the time. And it doesn't have to just be like a slide deck in front of other people. They need to be able to explain their ideas clearly to investors, business partners, customers, employees. If they don't understand the idea quickly when the business entrepreneur is presenting to that person, they're not going to support the business. So, what makes up a great pitch? It should be clear, organized, engaging, and easy to understand. The audience should right away understand what is the problem, what's the solution, and why does this idea even matter? And if they don't, they're going to tune out. So, what is a pitch deck? That's what this whole unit is all about. It is a brief 10 to 12 slide storytelling opportunity for the entrepreneur. In my full semester class, my students create what's approximately a 32 slide deck that goes over all the details of the business. I would be an absolute monster of a teacher if I forced my students to have to present all 32 of those slides. That would be brutal on them and me, and I don't want to do that. And so instead, we shrink it down, condense it to 10 to 12 slides. That pitch deck is a short presentation. It explains the business idea, explains the problem, the solution, how you're going to make money, and convince other people to support that idea as well. Most of the common student presentation mistakes that I see are as follows. Typically, and this is kind of a generalization, but this is what I encounter at least, bland generic slide decks that are just like blank or a full solid color. Perhaps maybe it's going to be reading directly from the slides, overloading the slides with text, having no clear structure, not rehearsing, and the audience becomes confused or bored because they're like, I don't want to watch this. This is hard to watch. It's like a slow motion train wreck. I encourage my students to always start with a professional template. I encourage Canva because of its power. If you've never used Canva or your students haven't, if they log in with their student email address, it allows them access to a number of different free opportunities that they otherwise would not have. So do encourage them to use that. This is what creates those professional slide decks that look like they were built by somebody that does this full time. I know that in my class, at least, I've seen a student get up and absolutely blow a full presentation. It's just terrible from start to ending. There's no practice, there's no rehearsal. It's just blank slides with a ton of text on them. And then immediately after the student stands up and delivers the most beautiful presentation you've ever seen. And it is horrifying for everybody, both the audience as well as the person that just presented, to know that they just got clobbered by this person that went right after them. The way that person probably made the beautiful slide deck is Canva. There's other solutions out there, Slides Go, Slides Carnival, and other things like that, but Canva to me is superior. in the realm of user friendliness and making professional slide decks. So if we want a professional presentation, it starts with strong design. Instead of starting with that blank slide deck, I always encourage them to use a professional template, keep the slides clean and organized, use consistent fonts and colors, and make your presentation look professional. Save your time designing the slides and use a pre-templated one. If you're a teacher out there or a student out there and you don't know how to use Canva, or your students don't know how to use Canva, I did make a 5-minute video overview that you can watch. It's in my YouTube channel as well, where you're probably watching this too. So platforms like Canva have hundreds of presentation, if not thousands of presentation templates ready to use. I have my students take a look at these two different slides. Which one would they prefer to look at? Would they rather the paragraph or the bullet points? Most of them are going to say the bullet points. And the reason that they say that is because, well, with a paragraph, this is in my eyes, or at least the way my brain works. If I see a paragraph on the screen, I'm going to race the presenter to try and read it faster than they can say it. Or if I'm a presenter, I'm going to stand up and be like, oh, shoot, I forgot exactly what I'm supposed to say at this point because it's totally scripted and it's on the slide. I'm going to turn around and now I'm presenting at the slides looking the other way. And that's not professional. And my voice is going to drop off because I'm no longer presenting at the audience. I'm presenting at the screen. So students are going to either read instead of presenting. The audience is going to stop listening. There's too much information at once. And the slide becomes the presentation, not the presenter presenting the slides. Paragraph slides make presentations boring. A better way to do this is by using bullet points. Keep it brief, keep it simple, short phrases, key ideas only. The speaker explains the details and the slides support the speaker. The bottom line is this: slides should support the speaker, not replace them. If I was going to line out how a business pitch structure should probably be organized, this is a traditional type of business pitch. And it doesn't have to be exactly this, but I would encourage people to open with a strong introduction. Hi, my name is so and so, and I'm here. Insert the name of the business. If you have multiple people, it's always professional to do, hi, I'm so and so. Hi, I'm so and so. Hi, I'm so and so. And we are. If you can choreograph and actually say we are, and then what the name of the business is, actually synced up, it looks really good. Try that out. And then the next slide, this just makes sense. Present the problem. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where, then the solution would be the next piece? Our product or service solves that problem by whatever your solution is. And then asking for the sale at the close of this would be something like this. So this is called the call to action. This is me requesting you to make the next step in the transaction of actually finding me or purchasing my product or service. This is where I say how my business is going to make money. Next up, at this point, we need to start talking about presentation expectations. I always am going to encourage my students to stand up there confident, clear, and look professional. But you can't be confident if you don't know what you're doing and if you haven't rehearsed. So I'm always going to encourage students to do the following. Plant your feet and stand confidently. Use your controlled hand movement. So if you don't know what to do with your hand, clasp your hand over hand right there in your lap or hands to your side, one or the other. Remove any distractions such as AirPods. I would take off a hat if I was presenting, especially gum. Take the gum out of your mouth as well, and make eye contact with the audience. If you absolutely hate making eye contact with people, you could trick the audience. And instead of actually looking at them in the eyes, look right here at the top of their head. They'll never know otherwise. And scan the room. Present to the entire room, not just the teacher. I see that all the time. The way that I always think about this is look left, look right, try to make eye contact with at least one person on both sides of the room. I solidify this by having my students do a presentation posture challenge. I'll pick about 4 or 5 students to sit at the front of the class. And these are usually going to be my extroverted, bubbly students that are ready to do whatever. I'm going to have them then get 10 seconds to get into a presenter position as a challenge. But first, we're going to blindfold them, whether it's their hoodie or something over their head. In addition to having that thing over their head, so they're blindfolded, I select those students and I select 2 more students, and I'll have them move to opposite sides of the classroom. And we know exactly who those students are. So the 5 people that are blindfolded know who those students are. I tell them that they need to scan the room as soon as the blindfold comes off, make eye contact with both of the people when the timer starts. So this is how the instructions would go really quickly. Once you're blindfolded, your task, and I give you the start motion, you are going to have to stand up, plant your feet shoulder width apart, put your hands at your sides, remove the distraction, so that's taking off the hoodie off of your eyes, and then make eye contact with the 2 people. Once those 2 people confirm who it is that won, then that person advances on to the next round, and I'll usually take like the top two finishers, and then we do like a final speed round. And it's fun, and it gets students understanding exactly what's the expectation. Now we need to start talking about how to actually prepare the pitch. So step one, we need to write out the pitch. Step two, say it out loud, cut it, simplify it, use note cards, and we want our message to be heard and not just a memorized script. So I would always also recommend that you prepare this and read it in the mirror. How do I get my students to kind of understand what they need to do as far as this process goes? Well, I give my students a prompt. And so if you're somebody that just recently purchased this content, then you'll find I have a whole slide deck, or not slide deck, but Google Doc of prompts that are accessible to you too. And then once you print it out, you just have to cut them out. So each group will receive a paragraph describing a business idea, and it's your job to perform slide surgery. So they get this big, long-winded text box. They need to turn the paragraph into 3 bullet points that could work on a presentation slide. They need to remember the rules. Each bullet point can have no more than 8 words. Your note card must include the problem, the solution, and why the idea matters. And the goal is to practice turning long explanations into clear, simple slide ideas. I then give them about 2 to 3 minutes to work as a group to take that big text, cut it down to 3 bullets. And then after they're done, a few groups will share their bullet points with the class so we can see how different groups simplified the same idea. And this is the skill that good presenters use. They don't just put giant paragraphs on all the slides, they simplify the ideas into bullet points that they can easily just talk about. Again, that's an activity, that last piece that I was just talking about. Now we need to actually build out our slide pitch deck. And so the pitch deck needs to be about 10 to 12 slides. The required slides, you have to have an introduction. You have to introduce the problem, the solution, what is the business model, so how will you make money, and a persuasive close. Why should somebody support your idea? Additionally, you need to choose another 5 to 7 slides of your choosing. Again, my students do 32 slides for the full semester. I don't care what 12 to 10 slides they choose. I give them some examples as to other ideas as to what they might choose to use. At this point, I give my students probably at least a full day, maybe even 2 full days to create a 10 to 12 slide pitch deck on Canva that explains their business idea, and it hits all of these marks. No paragraphs, no reading directly from the slides, no cluttered designs, short bullet points, relevant visuals like an image on each slide so people have something to look at other than just the words, and follow the pitch structure. The slides support your speaking, they do not replace it. So that's step one. After a day or two of working on the slides, now they need to write out their script so that it's not just something that they wing, because I see that all the time. Sometimes you'll get a beautiful presentation slide deck, and then they get up there, but they've never actually read it through, and it's just not well done. So I have them write down literally everything they're going to say. Include everything you want to say when presenting. The script should explain the problem, the solution, and everything else that needs to go into it. Now that they've written out the script, now we need to cut and simplify it out. So they read it out loud. This one might be hard for some students to do, and I will even actually write passes so my students can step outside to do this so that they don't have to feel like they're going to do it in front of their peers in these like closed quarters of my small classroom. Now that they've done this, they're going to read every single thing that was in there. They're going to fix and cut and simplify their slides using shorter bullet points, highlight key ideas, avoiding paragraphs, too much text, and reading directly from that slide. From here, now we need to rehearse the pitch. So we're focusing on speaking clearly, scanning the room to make eye contact using natural gestures, standing with confident posture. Practice the pitch at least 3 times. The more you rehearse, the more natural you're going to sound and more confident you are going to sound when you actually get up to present. At this point, now I'm going to encourage them to make note cards. And this is all methodical. This isn't just me making it up. It's create the thing, cut the thing down, make it intentional, rehearse it, hear the things that don't make sense, cut those back out. Now we're making note cards, but instead of note cards with paragraphs on it, again with bullet points. Now you don't even have to turn to the slide to know what it is that you need to say next. Because you've rehearsed it, you could just keep going. So these are on the note cards, just key talking points, important numbers or facts, or reminders of what you need to say on each slide. Avoid the full paragraphs, reading directly from the cards, or putting too much information. If you do need to read from the card, make sure that you look back up at your audience and scan from side to side of the room and use them as quick reminders, not as your script. Step 6, this is a hard one because I can't control this, but I encourage them to go home and practice in the mirror. Think about your facial expressions. Think about speaking confidently, reducing your filler words, using good posture, body language, and adjust as needed. At this point, we are good to go. So I give my students a ready to present checklist. They make sure they've done all these things. I have them actually sign it at the bottom saying they've done all of the things. and it's time for presentation, but not quite yet. They see all of the requirements, they know exactly what's expected of them, and now that they have the guidelines, so this is the criteria, I give them a recommended pitch deck structure. This is how I would do it if I was them. And then I give them the business pitch rubric. So they know exactly how they're graded. They can look exactly through this. They can say, all right, here's how I'm going to be graded on this. Here's how I'm going to be graded on that. Ooh, I'm missing this piece. I better fix that. And then we do our presentation. I provide my feedback with the presentation immediately as soon as they are done with presenting. So they finish whatever it is that they needed to say. I provide them oral feedback right there on the spot. Now that I've given that feedback, I will go into the notes into the learning management system and I will say, hey, please refer to the notes that I provided to you in class to save me time of grading. When I'm giving that verbal feedback, I always make sure I do the sandwich technique. So at least one thing they did well, an opportunity to grow, and then another thing that they did well to close it out. And if there's any private notes I need to give them, then I'll put those also in the learning management system so that they see that and don't get blasted in front of the whole class. Upon completion, I ask my students for feedback to help me refine my future instruction. I ask them what helped you learn the most in this unit, what is still unclear, and what is one suggestion for me to improve for next time. Folks, I appreciate you watching this video from start to finish. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on any of my socials. And if there's anything I can do to help you make this more valuable in your classroom, please do let me know. And thank you for teaching what I believe to be the most valuable class on campus.